Hey, what's up, everybody? Tonight I want to share the story behind this picture. See, when I was a kid, we moved around a lot. I was born in California, then we moved to Texas. We actually lived a few different places in Texas. Then we moved to Arkansas, and then we moved to here. When we came here when I was in like the third grade. And so, moving around so much, I was always kind of shy because I was always the new kid in class, and it was hard for me to adjust all the time. And being shy, I never liked any attention on me. And I would try to be like wallpaper. I just wanted to blend in. I didn't want to be the focal point. I never wanted to be the center of attention. And I know that does not sound like me now, and I know that's hard for you to believe, but that's true. I wanted no part of that. Like, I just wanted to be quiet and left alone. And something happened when I was in the third grade that scarred me for life. And I shared this story with our junior high department a while back. And for some reason, they thought it was funny, even though it was traumatic to me. They seemed to get a kick out of it. So I will share it with you tonight. And it all happened when we were in reading class. And in reading class, we would read a story and we would read it out loud, which, being shy, that was torture to me anyway. That meant I was going to have to talk out loud in front of people. I love doing that now, but then I didn't like it so much. And what I would always do when we started reading is you would read a paragraph at a time. Each kid would read their paragraph, and then the next kid would go, and then the next one. So what I would do is I would always count down to where my paragraph was going to be, and I would find it in the book or in the story, and I would stop paying attention to whatever was going on in class, and I would start reading my paragraph that I was going to have to read. I wanted to prepare it. I wanted to know it. I wanted to know everything about it. I wanted to be able to almost quote it, because when it came to my time to read, I didn't want to stumble, because guess what happens when you mess up in front of people when you're in the third grade? They make fun of you. They laugh at you. And I did not want that. I did not want that kind of attention. I didn't want that on me. So man, I didn't even know what the story was about half the time, because I would be reading my paragraph only. I could tell you what that paragraph was, but I couldn't tell you the rest of it. And one day we were reading a story, and I remember this like it was yesterday. It feels like I'm still sitting in that class right now talking about it. We were reading a story, and I can't remember the whole story, but I know that the story was about a little kid who lived in Mexico. And we were reading that story, and so I go and I find where my paragraph is going to be, and I get down to it, and it just so happened that I was going to be the lucky one. I was going to get to read the last paragraph. If it would have been one less paragraph, I would have missed this whole situation. I could have avoided it, but I got the last paragraph. So I figured it out, went to that paragraph, started reading it, just going back and forth, looking at it, and I get to the last line. And I see this word that is completely foreign to me. That's going to come into play. Remember that in a few minutes. But I did not know what this word is. I've never seen this word. I couldn't sound this word out. I was trying to. It didn't even look like the letters belonged together. And so I'm sitting here panicking, knowing that my turn is fixing to come. I'm like 2 or 3 out now. And I'm scared to death because I'm panicking. I know I don't know this word. There's no way I'm going to figure this word out. It doesn't even look like a real word. And so I start, trying to figure out something, trying to do whatever I can do to try to think of this. And I realized that, okay, this is the last sentence of the story. And on the page next to it, there's a big picture. So I can look at that picture, and maybe that picture, I can find out what I'm looking for in there. I can find that word, and I can put it in there. And the picture was a picture of the little boy the story was about. He was in Mexico. He was on a bicycle. He had a backpack on, and he was waving to the camera. And so I'm looking at that picture, and man, it's getting closer and closer. And I'm like, oh man, we're 1 or 2 people out now. And no, I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm freezing up. And so I stare at that picture. I just studied it. And finally, like a lightning bolt, it hit me. A light bulb went off, and I was like, I got this. I know the answer. I know what this word is now. So my demeanor changed. Like I went from the kid that was just like panicking and scared to being like, all right, I'm ready. My chest was poked out. I was like, I'm fixing to show these people what this Arkansas education done, because I'm fixing to read this word, and I know none of these dummies know it. So I'm fixing to read it and impress everybody. And it was like still 1 or 2 out, and I'm like, hurry up and get to my point, get to my part. I'm ready to go. So finally it gets to my part, and I'm reading. And I get to that last line, and I never will forget this. I get to the last line, and I start reading. And that line was, he rolled his. Then the word that was there was Tongue. Well, in my third grade mind, I had looked at that word, I looked at that picture, and I read the sentence that he rolled his tongue and went away. And so I was sitting there quietly, proud of myself for getting that word out, getting through that sentence, just waiting on the reaction. And the teacher kind of looked at me and said, "Chad, that word is tongue." And man, everybody busted out laughing at me at that time. And I was what I had thought in my little mind, I had convinced myself that I had suddenly knew Spanish because I thought the Tongue was the Spanish word for backpack. But I did not realize that Tongue was the English word for tongue. And so everybody's laughing at me and making fun of me. And I had gone from being so convinced that I had this right that I was deliberate. I was fixing to roll that thing. I was fixing to say he rolled his tongue and then he went away. But I'm glad I didn't now. But I went from being that confident to just being crushed. And I will never forget that. I'll never forget that story. And so from then on, like every time it came time to read, if I would look in my paragraph and I didn't know anything, I was afraid to read. I was afraid to do it. So what I would do is we had a table and there was a pillow and a blanket under that table. And if you got sick or you didn't feel good, you could go lay under that table. So what I would do from then on is I wouldn't even attempt it. I would just I would tell the teacher I was sick and I would go lay under that table because I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want people to talk about me. I didn't want people to make fun of me. And we do that sometimes in our walk with Christ. We're afraid that if we stand up or we say something or we tell people about what Jesus has done in our lives, that people might make fun of us or put us aside or not want to be around us because of who we are. And 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15 talks about that. It says that you must always worship Christ as Lord of your life. And if someone asks you about the hope that you have as a believer, always be ready to explain it. And so I'm going to tell you tonight, no matter what's going on, no matter what people say about you or what you think people are going to do or what you think might happen, if you stand up and you tell people why you have the hope that you have, I want you to stand up and do it. Don't let any of the outside things bother you. Don't hold your tongue. Step up and speak out for Jesus. I love you. God bless you. See you on the third floor soon.